Hello again, folks. We are back once again with Destiny 2. So right now we are into part number 2 of a 3-part Stasis Spotlight series. Back in part 1, we discussed about the Warlock Shadebinder. That was in part 1. Now in part 2, we're going to learn more about the next Stasis subclass as we talk about the Titan Behemoth. So there's the information you see right here on the screen as we're going to talk about the Glacial Quake, Shiver Strike, and Ground Control. Now, if you want to pause and take a look at this, by all means, that's perfectly fine. So let's just get right into it right here, as they open it up with the first paragraph. Two things that simply go in hand. That's the Titan and the Smash. Those are the two things. There were some few combat situations in Destiny 2 that can't be solved, or at least made better, by a quick Titan punch to the face. And of course, when Beyond Light is released on the 10th of November, of course, Guardians who prefer the Titan class will discover a new subset of stasis powers that allows them to harness the power of darkness. And of course, fisticuffs will be part of it. Now, in the previous edition of this series, each stasis subclass will embody a facet of stasis. The Warlock Shadebinders emphasize the freezing enemies, and of course, as you'll learn about next week on September 8th, with the Hunter Revenant, it's a specialist at slowing the action down. But we're not going to talk about the Hunter until this Tuesday, September 8th. We'll keep talking about the Titan Behemoth. It uses stasis as a means for both creation and destruction. So here's the first picture glimpse over here. And we'll scroll down a little more. With the Behemoth, we want to put an emphasis on the ability to use stasis to create crystals that can alter the battle by changing the very ground beneath your feet. Control the ground, control the fight. As a result, the Behemoth can use their stasis abilities defensively, such as creating crystalline walls to block enemies and gunfire, or, if you want to go on the offensive, you can use crystals to freeze enemies. The Titan Behemoth can also unleash a powerful melee attack known as the Shiver Strike. So let me just scroll down a little more. Whoops, a little too much. So here, as you see on screen, the Titan lunges forward, launched by a stasis explosion at their feet to propel them towards an enemy. While in midair, they summon a stasis gauntlet that covers their fists and then slam into their foes, sending them careening backwards and slowing nearby enemies. There's, you see the picture over here. Now, for the Behemoth Super, which is Glacial Quake, this begins with a Titan forming a mighty gauntlet on their fist. They can then slam the gauntlet into the ground, sending out shockwaves, which will form stasis crystals, which freezes nearby enemies. Covered in an armor of stasis crystals, the Titan temporarily becomes an unstoppable wrecking machine, able to jump higher, faster, and farther while blasting enemies with greatly increased melee attacks. So here's a look at the super that he's been activating over here as he's going into his Behemoth form. And if frozen enemies are the bowling pins, you can think of the Titan Behemoth during their Glacial Quake Super as the bowling ball. Well, you want to try and get a strike or a spare. Able to, to instantly shatter enemies as they sprint or slide through them. Running amok in a crowd of bad guys and shattering them like a perfect 10-pin strike is a fine strategy, but also a degree of subtlety there too. So for example, you can cancel out of a slide into a massive stasis-powered leap, only to cancel that just at the right moment and direct the Behemoth downward into a devastating slam. Okay, so that's the information there, and of course, the Behemoth has the abilities, aspects, and fragments as mentioned in part 1, but we'll show you a quick little example on one of the aspects here first. So for example here we have the Tectonic Harvest. This is one of these stasis aspects. It says here, a petrified grip, grasping for something once held but now lost. Your hands create power from nothing. And here's what it says right here. Shattering a stasis crystal creates a stasis shard. And of course for this shard, this will grant you melee energy when picked up by you or your allies. That's for the aspects. And for the stasis fragments, Now, some of them could have penalties, but this one may help in your favor. For example, the stasis fragment here called Whisper of Durance. It says here, slow from your abilities lasts longer. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also increase. So, your resilience, for example, is currently at 62, and the strength is at 19. But here's the good and bad. The bad news is you will lose 10 resilience, that will put you down to 52, but you also gain 10 strength, which will put you up to 29. That's the quick little example right here. So it's like a 50-50 fragment for sure. Okay, so that's just about it for the Titan. So coming up in part 3, which is the third and final part, we'll learn more about the Hunter Revenant. But before we go, we're going to go into the hub page and get some information on the lore. Oh. Okay, why is this? There we go. Okay, I guess I didn't click A hard enough. So before we go, we're going to see the quick little lore for the Titan Behemoth. Scroll down a little bit more. So we learned about the Warlock lore. Now here's the lore here for the Titan Behemoth, and it says here, the cold embraced me, dimming the sounds of battle into reverberant echoes, thin and distant. I flexed my gauntlet and felt the roar of glaciers grinding against the bones of the world. There you go. Alright, so 2 parts down, 1 more to go. The conclusion of the Stasis Spotlight series concludes this Tuesday with the Hunter Revenant. Looking forward to showing you that. And also coming up on Tuesday, we have the 14th and final lore page for the Singular Exeged. As usual, yours truly will be uploading the final piece of information from Eris Morn at the Interference Quest. And with that being said, we are DONE, done like dinner. Thank you for watching. See you later.